I'm curious to know if you could talk a little bit about how you've carved your own career path here in Philadelphia. If you find the city sort of inviting to new and young journalists, and maybe if there's any tidbits of advice about navigating that scene. It's just sort of a scene setter of who you are and what you're doing here. So perhaps Alex, and then go down the line.
Well, I definitely find it inviting. Increasingly, though, I'm suspect of whether or not it's profitable. But I mean, the whole actually to go our connection, Diana and I went to a tactical urbanism salon that they held at their storefront location on Girard Avenue, and I got to stand in a room with a lot of the people that I was reading about and was interested in and wanted to write about, and have conversations with them over beer, and that's ended up how I got the internship. So that moment for me has always distinguished how it felt, how Philly has felt to me, which is very inviting, very open, very very much not overwhelming. It felt like a place that a young person could come and do something. In terms of why I got started with Spoke Magazine was as the option of working a free internship teetered out, and I wanted to start getting paid. It was really difficult to obviously get a job at places like City Paper and Inquirer. So Spoke Magazine was the way to sort of cut through all that and just have my name on something and be a part of something that people were talking about, and had a place on the racks right next to City Paper at the coffee shops and bars and such.
Hi, I started at WHYY as an intern when I was a student at Temple University. I interned in the newsroom. I wanted to work in the newsroom, but that wasn't an option at the time because they didn't have any jobs available. So I ended up becoming a producer for a while, which was fine, and did that, and then kind of worked my way back into the newsroom, which I think happens to a lot of people. We have a career path in mind, and then maybe that doesn't happen right away, so you have to just do what's out there and what's available. I always feel like as long as you're learning something and it's in your field, it's still a good opportunity. So I've now been in the WHYY newsroom. Now we started a show called The Pulse, which I ended up hosting. So it all ended up working out in the end, even though I wasn't so sure about that for some time. I find Philadelphia is a great community for journalists. I think people help each other out. There's a community that's very friendly and welcoming and also supportive. That's been my experience.
Agree. I came into journalism by accident, and I think as that, it is really welcoming here in Philly. A year ago, I got a job at Al Dia, which is it's a bilingual newspaper, English and Spanish. In case you couldn't tell, I'm about as Latino as bratwurst and sauerkraut. But the idea was that I was really big into advocacy, and I really wanted to gain this niche thing. But also, I didn't even grow up reading. I grew up in and around the Philly area. Never read newspapers. Thought the SRC was like a band name for all these years. But I think that's a testament to how welcoming it is, because I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of great people in the last year, and I can keep going, and it's just been kind of a really receptive environment. Even if there's no money in it.
Hey, I'm Juliana, and I work at Technically Philly. I think one of the first experiences I had in the journalism scene really speaks to how inviting it is. I was like a sophomore or junior in college, and I read this great story in my sociolinguistics class about violence against Asian Americans at South Philly High, and it was written by George Miller for the Philly Weekly. And he was one of the first people to cover this issue, which had been going on for a really long time. So I just emailed him for a school paper, and I was like, I want to write about this. Will you come and talk to me? And it was totally a shot in the dark. I was like, he's never going to come talk to me. This real journalist is not going to meet with me. And he wrote back and was just like, sure, I'll meet you at a coffee shop in Northern Liberties. And I was like, oh my God. And so basically I met with him, and he was like I always say he's the first real journalist that I met. And now I see him backstage at rock shows in Philly, so it's pretty awesome. But yeah, he was super welcoming. He just sat with me for an hour and talked to me about the story. And that was one of my first intros to the scene. And then I just interned everywhere: City Paper, Celebrity, Newsworks, and found my job after school. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good place to be a young journalist.
Hey, I'm Matt with Spirit News. So I got my start actually at Technically Philly, was my first internship and probably my biggest inspiration, or one of my big inspirations for what I've done since. I met Chris Wink, and he basically grabbed a couple of his friends and created something and started reporting. And so that's what I did. I grabbed one of my friends and started reporting. And went to school and met a lot of people, etc. But with Chris and even George Miller, I found Philly to be incredibly inviting. I love the fact that you can sit down and read the news in the morning and then go to the bar and run into about half of the people who wrote the news that morning. For good or for ill. But Philly's a great town to be doing this in, and assuming we can figure out how to make it pay, I think we're all going to love it.
Okay, well, we'll definitely talk about the money issue as part of this. But